He's back. Luka Dončić is back after missing the last 5 games with his wrist injury as the Mavericks look for 3 in a row tonight as they take on the Portland Trail Blazers. We preview tonight's game, all coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato and Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys, coming your favorite team every single game night at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Carella. You can always dial up the Stein line for our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, at the Stein line. The Don is back for your Dallas Mavericks just in time to take on the Portland Trail Blazers. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Luka Dončić is back after missing the last 5 games with his wrist injury as the Mavericks look for a 3-game winning streak, taking on a Portland Trail Blazers team that's just 8-12 on the season. We'll get into all that and more coming up next over the next 30 minutes here on our pregame show. Appreciate you joining us here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports while you're here. And also make sure that you're downloading and subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. But gentlemen, that's where we start tonight. We'll get to the injuries and who's in and who's out. A laundry list for both teams, particularly for the Dallas Mavericks. But the headline, Tim Cato, Luka Dončić is back for the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, he's so back, and we're so back. That's what the kids say anyway. But it's Luka Dončić time. Did they miss him? No, they're 5-1. Are they better without him? Yes, absolutely. I'm kidding. I don't know. Sometimes I just get on a roll, and I just want to see where it goes. Look, we were talking on the last show. We were talking after the win against Utah. Look, this team is running a little ragged. And 5-1, you know, it's November. They've played a lot of games in a row. That's just going to happen to you at some point in the season. Depth is depth for a reason when it's depthing. But it's high time. It's high time for Luka Dončić to get back in there. This is what we expected. This is what I predicted on the pregame show. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a Cato line, but it just made sense that you're playing a back-to-back. Kyrie is out. Luka's in. Luka was on the verge of returning. It made sense that you would stagger them in this way against 2 teams that are at the very bottom of the Western Conference. Some of the very, very brief respites. Why do they pronounce it like that?
I don't know.
Like truly, why?
It's probably a YouTube video about it.
Well, it's probably like a French word or something.
It's a YouTube video about everything.
You can't trust the French. But one of the very brief respites, which is apparently how that's pronounced, in the Western Conference, it makes sense. You've got to start for each one of them. Go win the game. It's not that hard. Go win the basketball game.
Yeah, it's good for Luka to be back, obviously. It's a relatively, no disrespect to Portland, obviously, but it's a relatively low-pressure game, whereas on Tuesday, you're going up against a pretty tenacious Memphis team that's playing some good ball. So
with cup implications on the line.
With a lot on the line. And so you want both Luka and Kyrie feeling good in that game, and so it makes sense. If they were charting this out well in advance, do you want Luka's first game back after a week and a half off to be in the mountains or not in the mountains? And if you're going into a back-to-back, say, hey, Kyrie, how can we get you a night off?
Thanks,
hey, you
Craig.
too, Luds.
Thank you,
That
Luds.
felt like you're rubbing it in.
Stars just wrapped up their show over on DLLS Stars, so I'm expecting Ardell any minute now. But
that's right.
But it makes sense for him to be back this night. Now, like you said, a lot of other guys are out that we'll get to, or I'm sure a lot of our viewers already know, who's going to miss the game tonight. So it's not going to be super easy. You're going to have to go out and win the game, but Portland's pretty banged up too, and it is what it is. And so I'm expecting to see a really aggressive Luka, hopefully a really efficient Luka, and we can all just put the discourse to rest once and for all, and we can just go on being happy watching a good basketball team figuring things out in early December, like nothing is wrong in the world, or am I huffing too much hopium right now?
No,
You're always huffing.
I think you are always doing that, but there is a lot of hopium when it comes to the Mavericks having Luka Dončić back. And I see you in the chat. I see you, Ben. I see you, Sarah. Also, Mark. I see you all in there. Appreciate you joining us.
Tanner.
I see Tanner's
here every time.
Tanner
he's our
here
most loyal
literally
commenter.
every time. Graham, I see you too. What's up, man? Appreciate all of y'all joining us here. But yeah, the Mavericks welcome back 77. Of course, for him, missing the last 5 games with that wrist injury, he's going to have to carry a heavy load offensively tonight against a Blazers team that's 5-4 at home this year, 8-12 overall. Mavericks a 5.5-point favorite. The over under 225.5. If you are wondering, the Mavericks, of course, now 5th in the Western Conference coming into tonight's game and won 7 of their last 8 games. 4-1, by the way, gentlemen, in their last 5 road games. So doing some real work on the road. Of course, in the middle of playing 4 of 5 games on the road. They'll be back at home on Tuesday when they take on the Memphis Grizzlies with NBA Cup implications, as we mentioned.
Big one.
But the Mavericks are currently 3-1 this season on the second night of a back-to-back. Of course, got the win last night as they now take on the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. By the way, gentlemen, the Mavericks have been beating up on bad teams so far this year. They are 6-2 against teams under 500 so far this year. So a recipe for success, hopefully, for this team. Meanwhile, for Portland, 13th in the West, 2-4 in their last 6 games. They did win on Friday night, though, over the Sacramento Kings, 115-106, for them to stay alive in their own NBA Cup chances as well. DeAndre Ayton had 26 points in that win, but Portland is just 2-8 this year against teams with a record above 500. So as good as the Mavericks have been against bad teams, the Portland Trail Blazers have been as bad against good teams so far this year, which gets us to our scouting report on the evening as the Mavericks take on a Portland Trail Blazers team that's a little shorthanded, and particularly with their big man in the middle.
Yes, so with no Donovan Clingan tonight, Portland's got a couple other guys out too, but with no Clingan tonight, this is how it kind of affects things. So the Mavs last night went up against Walker Kessler, who's a big rim-protecting big. Clingan is kind of like Kessler, only, sort of different, but same sort of guy. Really long, really imposing around the rim. And so the Mavs were trying to kind of, lure Kessler into the ball handler and hit these big men with drop-off passes. But there's no Clingan tonight for Portland. And so, as I always do, basically, whenever the Mavs are about to play a team, I always look at the team's 4 factors. Tim has talked about them before. It's effective field goal percentage, free throw rate, turnover rate, offensive rebound rate. Basically, how good are you at stuff? How good are you at stuff that shows up in the stat sheet? Portland this year, offensively, dead last in effective field goal percentage. Portland this year, offensively, almost bottom 10 in free throw rate. Portland this year, offensively, 3rd worst in turnover rate. Where the Blazers have been really good this year is rebounding their own misses. They get 33.4% of the available offensive rebounds. So they miss a lot of shots. They get a lot of offensive rebounds. This year against teams that crash the offensive glass, the Mavs have been pretty poor. Think about some of the teams that have bullied them. Houston really bullied them. Utah has gotten the better of the Mavs a few times. How about one of the teams that the Mavs lost during that one of the other teams the Mavs lost during that 4-game losing streak, the Warriors? Kevon Looney was bullying them on the glass. And that was with the Mavs big man available, but there's no Lively tonight. However, there's no Clingan for Portland, and that matters a lot because when Clingan is on the floor this year, the Blazers have rebounded 37.5% of their long mid-range misses. Whenever he's off the floor, it's only 1/3, so that's a 4 percentage point drop-off. With Clingan on the floor this year, they have rebounded 37.7% of their total missed twos. With him off the floor, that's down to 34.3%. With Clingan on the floor this year, they have rebounded 34.1% of their total misses. With him off the floor, that's down to 31.8%. They also rebound 3 percentage points more of their at-rim misses. So basically, with him out there, he just eats up a ton of space. He's got long arms, good instincts. He's going to go grab a lot of those loose balls, win a lot of those 50-50s. And again, with no Lively tonight, that means I'm expecting probably quite a bit of Dwight Powell on the second night of the back-to-back. You want to keep Maxi's minutes, under control, so he'll probably play some backup 4 minutes. It'll be a lot of Dwight. It'll be a lot of Gafford. So you're missing some size. You're at risk of being really, really, put in jeopardy if a guy gets in foul trouble or whatever. So Clingan being out is huge. So all of that is to say, Portland's one thing they do very well, better than most teams, is rebounding their own misses, and they miss a ton of shots. They are a horrible shooting team. But with Clingan out, they're going to be even worse at that. They're going to be around league average at offensive rebounding. So the Mavs, there's statistically speaking, if this game was played on a spreadsheet, they should win this game. But that's why they play the game, and that's why we just talk about spreadsheets.
Klingon is the one player who changes the court's geometry. And sure, he's not playing 48 minutes, but that's something that you have to deal with if you're the Mavericks. You have to work around it. You have to process it. You have to play slightly differently. And without him, there's a lot of competent basketball players, just like every team in the league. Expand the league now. There is too much talent. There's too much talent isolated even on the bad teams. But Klingon is a specific type of player to the extent that DeAndre Ayton is not. Robert Williams can do, Robert Williams is a very unique player.
He's not playing either, though, right?
But he's not playing either.
He's out as well.
We love to say the injury report before the injury report time.
It's our favorite bit on the pregame show.
It's hard to talk about the team when sometimes it really matters who's out. But
what you're telling me is I need to make an adjustment to the show sheet. I got it. I got it. I'll do that.
Well, what really matters is who's in, who's out for the Mavs. So bearing that lead is good. But for the other team, I mean, look, like that's the thing. Robert Williams and Klingon are two really dynamic bigs. They're two bigs that you do kind of have to game plan around.
Yeah.
Ayton has had some really good games in his career against the Mavs. He's had some very destructive games against the Mavs, like where he has completely, annihilated Dallas's bigs. But he's just not that kind of guy. He's not a destructive player at both ends of the floor in the way that Klingon can be and in the way that Williams can be.
Here's a prediction for tonight. I think Luka gets the most lob, like alley-oop dunks, once he's making, not finishing. But I think he's going to get the most he's had all season, which isn't it's not a high bar. I think he maybe had 2 in a game. But I think the pick and roll is going to work well for him. I don't think Portland has enough to really disrupt it in an effective way. I'm not sure that a team that has their record for a reason is just going to be committed enough to stop it every single time down the trip.
Sure.
We've slowly seen that start open up a little bit. It's still mostly been from the Spencer Dinwiddie types, the secondary creator types. When Kyrie's been on the ball, opposing defenses have still been able to lock in a little bit more pick and roll and funnel and stop and drop coverage and do all the things to slow that down. I don't think Portland, without Klingon, without Robert Williams, with only DeAndre Ayton out there, who can be a little bit of a spacey defender, I don't think they're going to do it consistently for 48 minutes. I would expect Luka Dončić to assist Daniel Gafford 5 or 6 times, and I think several of them are actually going to be lob dunks, the type of lob dunks that we've kind of been missing from Luka and the Mavericks all season.
I wouldn't be surprised if Portland just starts blitzing Luka like midway through the second quarter. They're just like, screw this.
Get the ball.
Drops not working. Switches aren't working. Let's just make other guys beat us.
To you guys' point, when it comes to the impact that Klingon has had as far as their rebounding is concerned, Portland this year, 3rd in the NBA in offensive rebounding, collecting nearly 14 offensive rebounds per contest so far this year. But conversely, for the Mavericks, rebounding has been a strength for them, especially in the last 8 games. This is a team that's number 2 in the NBA, collecting 50 rebounds per contest, and number 5 in the offensive rebounding category, collecting 13 offensive boards per game themselves. So if Daniel Gafford can stay out of foul trouble, this is an opportunity for the Mavericks to potentially dominate on the glass tonight, with the Blazers being shorthanded in their front court. But the headline tonight is that Luka Dončić is back, and 77 is ready to hopefully feast on the Portland Trailblazers post-Thanksgiving. Jason Kidd speaking to Luka Dončić as far as what his impact means for his return tonight and what he's looking for from the superstar as they take on the Portland Trailblazers. Here's what the head coach had to say pregame.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the best player in the world, just his ability to dominate, rebounding, being able to assist, get guys easy shots. So when we do get him back, that's what we look for him, to play at the highest level.
How many hats does he have?
I told you, his hat collection is fire.
Big hat guy.
Yeah, Jason Kidd's hat collection is pretty.
I've never seen this. I've never seen him wear the same one twice.
It's probably not true.
But he's got a pretty good collection. It's a deep collection for sure. And when you look at the Mavericks, they're playing their first of 4 matchups against the Portland Trailblazers. Here's a fun fact. The Mavericks will play the Portland Trailblazers 3 times this month, actually. Not only do they play them tonight, but they'll play them on the 23rd and on the 28th.
Could be a very good thing.
You got a good chance to get 3 good wins against the Portland Trailblazers. You'll see them a few times this month. Of course, Dallas won the season series last year, sweeping it 4 games to none. The average margin of victory against Portland last year, over 22 points each win that the Mavericks average in terms of their margin of victory. So 4 blowouts of the Blazers last year, looking to hopefully do the same tonight.
There was, however, one game in Portland. I want to say this was they played back-to-back in Portland and in Dallas. So this would have been in December. It might have been the game where Dwight landed on Kyrie. I don't remember. But Dallas was up like 20. Anthony Simons, it was his first game back from injury. I think he might have even come off the bench in that game. And in the second half, he just got real hot. And it was like, it kind of turned into a game that we saw last night.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I don't know, it feels like they should probably be up closer to 15 or 20, but they're only up 7. And, you know, if you get into one of those kinds of games tonight against a pretty athletic team in Portland and also with, you know, tired legs, you could be in a little bit of a danger zone.
More on who's in and who's out for both teams tonight and some X factors that we'll be looking for, especially with the return of Luka Dončić. And Jason Kidd speaking to how well Spencer Dinwiddie has been playing and his impact on this team as well. We'll talk all about that coming up here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show.
But first, it's still Black Friday, kind of. We are mere hours away from Cyber Monday, though. All right. When one sale doesn't end, another one just keeps going. If you go to store.allcitynetwork.com, or if you scan the QR code right there, or if you click the link in the description below, it will take you to a website where you can get 30% off merch. You can get up to 75% off select items. We got, in addition to the shirts and hoodies that you know and love, we got flags now. We got pint glasses or glasses that are of a certain size if you're not into pints. We got mugs. I just bought a couple mugs myself today, actually. They'll be on the way soon.
Glasses of different size if you're not into pints.
Well, I mean, some people aren't going to celebrate what you would conventionally do in a pint glass. They might want a glass for other things, but
there's just some people who are just like strongly against pint-sized glasses.
Maybe we got people that
I love
into
a glass,
customary
in any other size than pint.
Maybe they're like, I love milliliters and I love liters. I don't care about pints or cups. You know, well, we got those too.
Strong.
We also have stuff that is themed after local colleges. All right, not including the University of Texas at Dallas, much to my chagrin. So again, if you go to store.allcitynetwork.com, that sale will continue through, I believe, today, maybe tomorrow, not sure. We got someone else coming tomorrow that we'll promote later on, though.
So go to storeallcitynetwork.com, get your gear today, and let us know. Tag us on social media. Let us know you're part of our DLLS sports family, and we'll shout you out here on our programs. Again, a lot of terrific gear for the Cowboys, Stars, Rangers, Mavericks. Make sure you go get all that and our college teams as well. Again, storeallcitynetwork.com. A lot of cool sales going on right now. Mavericks taking on the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. Game time at 8 p.m. You can watch the game on KFAA Channel 29 if you're going to be watching tonight's game, if you're going to be cheering, of course, for your Dallas Mavericks. So let's get to who's in and who's out for tonight's game before we get to more from Jason Kidd talking about Spencer Dinwiddie's impact prior to the game tonight. For the Blazers, Donovan Clingan, we mentioned he's out. He's got a left knee sprain. Jeremy Grant, though, he is back tonight for Portland. He has been dealing with a left knee sprain, but he is back in the lineup for Portland tonight. Scoot Henderson, he's out tonight. He's got a left quad contusion. Matisse Thybulle, he's also out with a right ankle sprain. Robert Williams III, he's out. He's in concussion protocol. But Chris Murray, he is available and good to go. He's been dealing with a bruised sternum. Ouch. So he is back for the Portland Trail Blazers tonight. Meanwhile, Dante Exum, of course, remains out with his right wrist surgery. Luka Dončić, after missing the last 5 games with his wrist injury, he is back and available for your Dallas Mavericks. Klay Thompson, though, he's going to miss his 4th straight game with that plantar fascia injury in his left foot. I'm officially concerned at this point, if you didn't see my tweet a little bit earlier today. Dereck Lively, he is out tonight as well. He's got a hyperextended right knee. Bobby pointed that out last night. I think it was Spencer Dinwiddie who fell into his leg.
Yeah, Dinwiddie took it to the rack, and I think he might have got fouled or something or took contact or whatever, and he fell into Lively's knee, and Lively was favoring it after that. So that's if I had to guess, that's when it happened.
Yeah.
Granted, Lively was back on the bench with no wrap or anything on it, so
he did leave the game after that.
He did leave the game, and he didn't sub back in.
Seems precautionary.
Based off the fact that he came back to the bench and he seemed in good spirits, it doesn't, we're intuiting that it maybe isn't that serious of a thing, but
sure.
Yes, it does seems quite likely it's just a precautionary thing. Obviously, with the high stakes of the NBA Cup coming up on Tuesday, he's doing everything possible within his control to be back for that.
So Lively out with a hyperextended right knee. Naji Marshall, who missed the second half of last night's game, he is out tonight with the upper respiratory illness. And Kyrie Irving is going to be taking the night off. He is dealing with right shoulder soreness, so he will be out for tonight's game.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So revisiting the game in Portland last year that I was talking about, no Kyrie. Lively played 6 minutes, then left with an injury. Your starting lineup, guys that played more than 20 minutes. How about that in that game? Luka, Exum, Jones, Grant Williams, Markieff Morris, Hardaway, Dwight Powell. The Mavs, and then Seth Curry gave you 14 minutes, but they basically played a 7.5 man rotation. They were leading 110-99 at the end of the third quarter, and they led by 112-105 with 9 minutes to go. So that game was a little, that's a little kind of weird, and a lot of the guys that are supposed to play in this game that weren't on the team last year are not playing in this game.
Can I say something?
Yes.
In the defense of that game, playing a team the second time in the baseball series, it's just so weird. It's just a weird...
It wasn't a baseball series. I was actually wrong about that.
I thought it was.
It was not a baseball
Really?
series.
Okay.
No. They went up there
also
2 times
remembered it.
quickly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Dante Exum was very good in the first one.
Yeah, this game was December 16th. The first one was December 8th, which was also a pretty close one. That
Great
game,
Dante Exum game.
That game, the Mavs won 125-112, but they only led by 4 with 11 minutes left. They led by 1 with 10 minutes left. That was the game that Anthony Simons made his return. He had 30 points in that game. He also had 30-something in the next game, too. So they've had a hard time corralling Anthony Simons. Shaedon Sharpe has had some good games against them. I'm just saying it is going to be a little harder than you probably expect.
One of those guys is going to have to help out tonight with the Mavericks missing a lot of guys. Spencer Dinwiddie, he has been spectacular in his last 2 games, 19 assists to just 2 turnovers, really doing the playmaking for this Mavericks team. JC Kidd speaking to how Spencer Dinwiddie's been playing pregame and what he's looking for from him tonight in tonight's game.
Pretty good. No, I think just as I've said this, getting us organized offensively. I thought last night, right before halftime, and I might have brought this up, Kai passing him the ball, he turned down a shot and redrove it and threw it back to Kai. And so his decision making right now, the carryover of the game plan, he's doing it at a high level, and we need that, especially with all the injuries that have had here of late. He's stepped in, next man mentality. He's been playing for us at a high level, and we're going to need that tonight.
They're going to definitely need that tonight alongside Luka Dončić as well. By the way, do we have the starting lineup for tonight's game? I'm sorry, I caught you off guard with that.
No, you're good. Let me pull up Coop Mavs. Grimes, Washington, Gafford, Dončić, Hardy.
Okay, so Jaden Hardy's going to get the start tonight.
That is a surprise to me.
Because Hardy has struggled a little bit as of late. Last night's game against Utah was not great.
The last few years. Just kidding.
Damn,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He's had a rough last couple games.
You just let your intrusive thoughts win.
No.
So he's going to have to bounce back, especially being in that starting lineup. It helps still to have 77 in that starting lineup alongside him. But Spencer Dinwiddie, real quick, has been really good for this team after what was that poor shooting performance against the Miami Heat. The playmaking that he was doing in that game, especially early on in the fourth quarter, has continued over the last few games as well, really steadying this team and being able to get guys in the right positions and get them set up and be able to have them finishing efficiently, especially when it comes to knocking down 3-pointers, which gets us to our X factors for tonight because, gentlemen, the Mavericks have been shooting the ball extremely well from the 3-point line in their last 8 games, in which they are 7-1. They are number 7 in the league in 3-point percentage, shooting 38.4% from downtown in their last 8 games. In fact, of course, in that first half against Utah last night, they went 50% from 3. In that first quarter alone, they went 9 of 12 from downtown, spurring them to the 40 points that they scored in the first period against Utah. The 3-point shooting for this team, even without the services of Klay Thompson, has been really good in the last 8 games for this team.
Yeah, and like tonight, Sharpe and Simons are the guards for the Blazers. Luka, Dinwiddie are going to be the playmakers for the Mavs. The Mavs obviously have a massive playmaking advantage, and if they do start blitzing Luka, then that's when it's going to be on Grimes and Hardy, who are going to kind of be that initial blanket, or Dwight, in the short roll, to make those reads and to find the shooters, space the floor. Hey, PJ Washington, if they start blitzing Luka, you're going to have to make a couple corner threes. If they don't, then keep doing what you're doing because you're doing great, buddy. Like, you're doing your best, and it's awesome. But we haven't seen teams blitz the Mavs a lot lately because Luka's been out, and even when Luka was playing before, teams were rarely blitzing him. But tonight, with no Kyrie, with no Lively, with no Naji, those are like 3 of your best players with the ball in their hands, like in open space. It would not surprise me to see the Blazers blitz Luka and dare the Mavs shooters to make shots. And so, are they up to the challenge?
I think that's right. I think that in general, Naji has been so good buoying the team while Luka's been out, because Kyrie is not a super high volume player at all times. He's someone who likes to defer. He likes to get off the ball and let others create around him, let the shape of the game be built around him, and then he'll find his moments to duck in, to dive in, to make something happen. And Luka is a little bit different, and Luka is much more ball dominant, obviously, objectively, than Kyrie Irving. I do think that you can survive the absence of somebody like Naji Marshall a little bit better when Luka is your one star out there. But I do think the counter to it, like you said, and because Dallas is down some shooting, because I do think that you're right, it wouldn't surprise me at all if at some point that's what Portland does. One way to combat that is to say, well, who else on the team is going to dribble for you? Do you trust Jaden Hardy to make the right play in 4-on-3 situations? Do you trust Quentin Grimes?
Not just one time, over and over.
Exactly.
And over.
They're going to need a lot tonight.
Yeah. And so the answer might be a lot of Spencer Dinwiddie on the court with Luka Dončić, but then all of a sudden you have a problem of Luka's off the court and you were playing Spencer Dinwiddie with Luka because you wanted to have that reliable 4-on-3 outlet guy who's consistently making the right decisions. And we do trust Spencer Dinwiddie to be that player. But then Spencer Dinwiddie's been playing a lot, so he's got to come off the court. So all of a sudden you're stuck with a lineup of Hardy and Grimes as your 2 backcourt playmakers. And so it's just a spiraling effect. Really what needs to happen is that one of the non-Spencer Dinwiddie, specifically if they
Hardy.
trap.
Give me Hardy. Hardy, you've got to have a great game tonight.
And that's why Hardy's starting.
Yeah.
Instead of Dinwiddie.
You got to have
he's not going to be afraid to take shots.
You need one of those players, and Hardy's the one who makes the most sense. Quentin Grimes, couple eyes looking at you as well. Those guys need to hurt. They need to punish Portland's defense in those situations when Luka's on the court, when Portland is making him give the ball up. That way that Spencer Dinwiddie is still there to run the second unit offense, and that it's just not all going to with Luka not on the court.
Because theoretically, Hardy should be able to knock down some open shots that he's going to get, especially with Luka Dončić playing alongside him. So an opportunity for Jaden Hardy to hopefully fill it up, especially from distance tonight as well. One player that has been playing extremely well, especially shooting the ball from distance in his last 10 games in our Mavericks player spotlight tonight is Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes has been fantastic in his last 10 games, averaging 12 points per game, shooting 50% from the field and 43.5% from downtown, and also giving you 5 rebounds per night in those 10 games as well. Had a season high 24 points last night, hitting 5 3-pointers, really getting the Mavericks going from the 3-point line. Quentin Grimes is going to be in the starting lineup tonight, definitely looking to do more of the same, getting much more comfortable in his role. Hopefully he will be able to take advantage tonight, playing alongside Luka Dončić, who is back in the lineup tonight as well.
He's been real aggressive early in games. He got really hot in Utah, which is great, and then he cooled off considerably, which was not as cool.
And didn't shoot well from the free throw line either.
Yeah, no, normally it's almost like the opposite. Like whenever guys get moved to the starting lineup, they're like, it's better to start because I can let the game come to me. But Grimes, whenever he started, has been really aggressive. I'm hoping it's the opposite for Hardy. Hardy, the last few games, whenever he's been coming off the bench, it's like, first time I touch the ball, I'm going to run as fast as I can, and I'm going to shoot the ball. And like, it's
wait, what's it been like?
It just he's
Real
just
Tasmanian devil-like.
he's
like
just been
second.
playing way too fast. Just doing way too much. And hopefully now that he's been playing with Luka, even if it is 4-on-3 scramble situations, he can just relax. You're going to be out there for 6 or 8 minutes. You're not going to be out there for a 3-minute shift. You can just kind of find the speed of the game and fit in with that. Grimes, though, it's been really interesting because normally it's like the opposite of what he's doing. Now that he's in the starting lineup, he's like, I'm going to run around like my pants are on fire for 48 minutes.
Been ultra aggressive so far, which gets us to our last X Factor before we get out of here. How can Luka Dončić knock off the rust tonight after missing the last 5 games of that wrist injury? He is back into the starting lineup. Look for him to be aggressive early on as well, not just for his own shot, but getting other guys involved to keep this momentum going for the Dallas Mavericks as they look for their 3rd straight win and continuing to play well on the road as of late. So it's going to be a lot of fun tonight in Portland with Luka Dončić back in the lineup. Yes, the Mavericks are shorthanded, but they've got a chance to be able to put their stamp on this road trip with a win with Luka Dončić back. We'll be back here 15 minutes after the final buzzer of tonight's game. Our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, will be joining us live in studio as well with his news and notes around the association. A big one in Cleveland tonight between Boston and the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. We'll talk a little bit around the NBA as well later on. So really appreciate you joining us here on the DLLS Mavs pregame show. Again, 15 minutes after the final buzzer, we'll be back here for our postgame show to recap the Mavericks taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. For Bobby Carella, Tim Cato, I'm Kevin Gray. It's time for Mavericks basketball. Blazers, Mavericks. We'll talk to you postgame here on DLLS Mavs. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.